show. There we go. Hello, people.
Hello, everybody.
That nose is looking a little red there. Did you have a few belts before you came in there, WC?
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I fell asleep in my tanning bed.
Yeah, 2 fingers.
Smile.
Well, thanks for joining us once again for Perception Theory.
Happy Father's Day to
Yes,
everybody in
happy
the
Father's
States.
Day.
Happy Father's Day.
It's only in the United States.
But nobody
Nobody else.
cares. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Father's Day is behind Arbor Day for
That
the
is true.
celebrated.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Let's talk about trees or dad, you know.
No, I'm going to talk about Dad. Dad. Nobody gives a shit about Dad. That's sad.
Wah, wah, wah.
That's sad.
Well, dads take a bad rap.
They do. That's my point. It's just like nobody cares. Dad's just a piece of shit. So I saw actually Chris Rock to be funny enough. So Chris Rock had this thing where he was talking about how men and fathers are viewed. So he had this thing where he was saying he's like mothers, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. He said men are loved under the condition that they provide something.
Yes.
And it's like, and that like hit. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. This is where we stand. In the
And it's just
universe.
like, yeah, men. I mean, just men take shit
That's right.
all day, every day.
That's right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Reverend.
All right. Well, based on that, we got a bunch of angry men here. But other than that, we'll pass this. We'll pass this over to miserable Ed,
Miserable. That's right.
Visible red.
and let him. Well, we'll head it over to Eeyore.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Let him kick us off.
All right. So I guess I'm going to start this with
Yeah. What are we doing? I forgot.
so the thing is do we have too much freedom when it comes to freedom of speech? Now, I want to narrow this down to not include the media or any outside, just regular people. Okay? So basically, let's kind of go back here. History lesson. Ooh,
Oh, shit.
So the new settlers came to the United States from Europe. British speech regulations were very severe, and criticizing the government was considered a crime. So we had a bunch of old people with long hair get together, and they came up with a set of laws, common laws for the American people or the British colonies at that time.
It wasn't their real hair though.
No, it was not.
It's powder wig because they were all bald.
Sons of... Hey, we're bald. Can we wear...
No, we had ours is not due to lack of hygiene.
That
Yeah,
is
they didn't
true.
You know,
have
actually, we
They
do have
shampoo back then.
we actually do have a couple of the old
Do we really?
Parliament wigs. Oh yeah,
All right. It would have been appropriate for
it would
this
have been.
So the... yeah.
I didn't know you were going. I didn't know you were going back that far.
Yeah, there we go. So the First Amendment of fundamental freedoms, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So that is the actual First Amendment.
Hello, Rodri.
Hello.
Sorry, you might want to skip this first part, Rodri.
Yeah,
Surprised you ain't watching the Euros.
right. So I guess to start this whole thing off, we're probably going to upset some people simply because of how this is going to go. So the whole thing kind of got me when we did the thing about the protesting with all the schools and everything. So the thing was that really honestly pissed me off is that you have students that couldn't go to some of this prestigious colleges because of money, not lack of education. They could do it, but because of all the high rates of college tuitions and things like that. So that really pissed me off that you have these people that are here, and I guess we're restricting others from graduations, some people getting to and from classrooms, entering classrooms, and things like that. So it kind of struck me for this free speech thing. So one of the things that I found interesting was free speech in schools. Now, this is actually taken from the History Channel, which I thought was kind of cool. In 1965, students at a public high school in Des Moines, Iowa, organized a silent protest against the Vietnam War by wearing black armbands to protest the fighting. The students were suspended from school. The principal argued that the armbands were a distraction and could possibly lead to danger for the students. So I found that interesting that these guys are all camping out and things like that. So furthermore, the Supreme Court didn't bite. They ruled in favor of the students' right to wear the armbands as a form of free speech. And obviously it's Tinker versus Des Moines Independent School District, if you want to look up the case. The case set the standard for free speech in schools. However, First Amendment rights typically don't apply to private schools, which I really thought was interesting.
And that was a private school, obviously.
Yes. So let's go back and look at this. So you had Johns Hopkins, that I think were the last school to kind of end all the sit-ins and camping and everything else. And what they did is they got together to come up with a peaceful solution for the protests, and also to consider the arguments that the students had.
Right.
So,
and I'll just chime in real quick. Like that right there, I have absolutely no problem with whatsoever. Right? If you want to wear an armband just to show your either your respect to this or your what do you call it?
Belief.
Yeah, belief, or the fact that you don't support that, I think that's completely fine.
Right.
You know, it's I don't understand how you can't go into class and have a teacher teach and whatever just with and that armband is going to create so much disruption.
Right. No, I agree. I think, I'm completely fine with that. But the whole camping out, keeping students from getting to where they need to go to, that's bullshit. And like the whole thing where people couldn't graduate because of this, they still had protests where people were walking out, things like that. I just think it's, morally it's wrong. What about all these other students that busted their ass to get their degree, to get that diploma? And then think about the kids that couldn't graduate across the stage from high school when you had the COVID thing hit. Well, now some of these same students can't walk across the stage because of the protests.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that is one of the things as far as the protesting goes, which I thought was actually very interesting. That one of the things is so the First Amendment permits restrictions upon content of speech in a few limited areas, including obscenity, defamation, fraud, incitement, fighting words, and speech integral, I think I'm saying that right, to criminal conduct.
Yeah.
But it's okay for you to prohibit people to get to where they need to go to.
See, so now if you talk to those people, they'll say, well, we weren't doing that. I mean, we weren't prohibiting anybody. We were just here. Yeah, but when you have a hateful group, like 20, 30, 40, 50 people, it could be slightly intimidating. Plus, with nowadays, you don't know how these people are.
No.
That's why I think we should go back to the day where we just knock the shit out of people, right? I mean, everyone's like, well, that's not so civilized. Well, fuck that. The simple fact that you could sit there and, like you said, with all the money I paid for college, for all of the work that I busted my ass for, I mean, they even had in some of the graduations that actually did happen for college, they had people that were disrupting, taking their gowns off and, saying free Palestine, this, that, and the other, and they were disrupting the whole thing.
Right.
Where you had, that might have been the first child in a family that even graduated college. But that doesn't mean shit because you want to be some spoiled ass little shit
Right.
and just run your mouth. I think that, you disrupt. You get to the point where you disrupt things, and you're causing issues with people's what they consider enjoyment of life.
Right.
Same thing in your house, right? If you're in your house and let's say your neighbors are so disruptive, either noise or where you can't enjoy your domicile, as they call it, then the police will come out and say, "Bruh,
Right.
no."
Right.
So, I understand it's a fine line with some people, what that is, but you just need to start going around kicking the shit out of people.
Yeah. Yeah, because I kind of feel like with this whole First Amendment and free speech is that it's almost as if, I can use it to my advantage when I want to use it to my advantage. But if you have something to say that I don't agree with,
I can shut you down.
absolutely.
Well, see, now I'm going to chime in.
Here we go.
But see that's where you hit the nail right on the head, because there's two issues. First, I'll address what you just said is the fact that these colleges can, just like any place else, you have your federal laws, then the state laws, then you have local laws, and shit like that. Well, colleges can enact they have certain type. They have codes of conduct, and there's
Yo,
Mr. Funk.
What's up, Mr. Funk?
And so they have certain I guess you could say laws, policies and procedures that students have to follow. There's conduct, but because they're colleges and a lot of them are liberal in their base, they don't have. There's no language in what do you say? Oof.
No problem, man. Anytime you need your...
We're not doing that kind of show anymore, Mr. Funk.
He needs some help this morning again.
With this bush.
Yeah.
Anyway. But they can create policies and procedures to address student conduct on their university, on their campus.
Correct.
And especially private universities.
Absolutely.
But they don't. Or like you said, it's okay. They choose not to follow it in this case, but if there's somebody that comes on to campus that they don't, like you said, they don't agree with, or let's say the faculty doesn't agree with, then they will be like, nope,
Right.
we have it right here in our
Our bylaws.
like anything else, they cherry pick and choose when
Sure.
they want to enforce it, when they don't want to enforce it.
Right.
So, and then going back to the people that are camping or that are putting up tents, the only thing, and it's like, why you got trespass, and so it's like, okay, freedom of speech. Well, let's say they're not even saying anything. Well, you got trespassing because most of those people, quite a few of those people on those campuses did not go to that school.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so why are you didn't go? You're not a student here.
Right.
Toss them off.
Right.
Obstruction, and all this. You could do other shit.
Sure.
But they try to say this freedom of speech. It's like, no, that's like the blocking kids from going to school. It's like, okay, well, you just went from freedom of speech to hindering free movement.
Right.
So you have creative ways. Colleges had creative ways that they could have done to sit there, but they chose. The thing is, they chose not to because they don't want to be looked at as this. They established this thing that we're all this liberal, progressive, college, so we accept everything, all free speach, unless of course a Republican goes on or a conservative goes on there, then it's like,
Yeah, then they're trying to shut them down.
Right.
we don't want you here.
Yeah, but look what happened to Colombia's president, though. She's like, oh, we're inclusive and stuff, and this and that. Boy, then what I was amazed to see is it turned around on her 180, and she got blasted for this shit.
Well,
Right.
same with the Harvard dean of
they-
Harvard. She
They
it's
found
like,
out she was a little plagiarizing some action.
oh yeah, well she had other things that
Her and the DEI person of Harvard also got popped for plagiarism.
Which
other
is against the First Amendment, by the way.
what, plagiarizing.
Yes.
Yeah. See, my thing is also is like you get people that say freedom of speech. They'll also now they've done this thing where they've incorporated this freedom of expression.
Right.
Right. So I may like you got to the point like say maybe the tense stuff. Okay, well I may not be saying something, but I'm expressing myself, and so they'll destroy. It's like those jackasses in Europe where they're freaking the no oil blocking the things.
Right.
Okay, I'm not saying anything. I'm just sitting in front of the thing. So I'm doing the freedom of expression.
Right.
But you're still disrupting people, and you're that's a safety. Like I said, there's ambulances can't get through. People are trying to get to the hospital. This and the other. I think even one woman ended up having a baby on the highway because they had these jackasses and they're trying to get them out of the way.
Right.
That's when you ought to go up there with like I said, with the Poltsai spring-loaded Billy Club, start knocking the shit out of these motherfuckers.
Oh, that's where you need to get a semi to come running through there. Hey,
or the
clear me a path.
Right.
or the damn Taiwanese freaking water cannons.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just get our fire
They
cannons.
won't do that's too barbaric.
Well,
we need to hire the Cambodians come in here with the damn thing and
Right.
Cane them.
So there are a few things that are not prohibited or restricted by the First Amendment, which I thought was interesting. Is one of the things is kind of blocking roads and things like that, unless you already have a permit for that, simply because what you guys were just going over, blocking traffic and things like that. That I think is, again, over the line as far as the First Amendment goes, which that's prohibited per the First Amendment.
Well, yeah, and it's like, but see, let's say if you're a protest group and you're protesting and you're going to be protesting, okay, so you put in a permit, and when they approve it, let's say they approve it, which happens all the time in D.C. That's why I can never be a cop down in D.C. because they got probably protests like every other day. But it's like, block off streets because they know, they put it on the application. This is where we're going. We're going to march from here to here. And this is where we're going. Okay, so we're going to block the streets off. So it's when they deviate from that they're like, no. You went outside the lines of and like blocking a major interstate. There again, it's like, and you're hindering. See, there's other things. You're blocking you're hindering people from getting to point A to point B.
Right.
And that's where the line's being drawn. It has nothing
and you're
to do
blocking,
with your...
and you're blocking commerce,
right,
which
absolutely.
actually is a federal offense.
Right. But see here again, you have the issue where, if a mayor decides, hey, this is bullshit, we're going to get you guys off of there, then he's ostracized. But on the opposite side of the coin, if he doesn't do anything, he's going to get ostracized again.
You can't be. My big thing is I don't understand why people just don't enforce the laws. That's my big thing. And I'm going to get off subject just for a second real quick. It's just like freaking when you talk about gun control and all this shit, right? Like the Florida shooter, right? Down where he shot all those kids in Parkland,
right.
Whatever. The son of a bitch had been turned in like 5,000 times. I mean, he's like, I think he had like 5 or 6, right? He had, his mother had turned him in, said he was dangerous. He was like killing animals and then this and that and blah, 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 right? So the sheriff had a file on him. The sheriff was supposed to issue him or flag him.
Right.
Right? And they even had, the FBI even had a file on him, and they were supposed to flag him outside of his county or whatever for a purchase of a firearm.
Right.
So everybody wants to talk. We need more laws on the books. And no, we need to enforce what the fuck we got. So when Tex was talking about how we had these procedures and stuff for the school, those are procedures for anybody or
right.
for everybody, I should say. Mm-hmm. Just enforce the shit. Then you wouldn't have this issue because then if the point is if they're not going to go or whatever else. Then you have a criminal aspect, and then have them come over there and arrest them. But I don't understand from these freaking and I'll say it, elitist white deans and presidents of these colleges, how do they think not enforcing the laws is somehow benefiting anybody,
Right.
of either side,
Sure.
right? And it's these little motherfuckers that are doing this, that aren't they're not paying taxes, they're not influencing either policy or anything in any legitimate way,
Right.
right? So they can say, oh, we should pay, we should pay for this, pay for that. Well, then won't you pay some taxes, then, you little bitch ass? So none of their stuff is it's almost like you have freedom of speech, but it's almost like you shouldn't even have a say because you haven't even,
Right.
Well, and a caveat to that too, on top of a lot of the protesters not even actually belonging to the college, being what they called hired, brought in or whatever, or interested parties or whatever. Another big group of ones that are instigating all this aren't even citizens of the United States.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming here to go to college from other countries. So it's like, so wait, whoa. So can you imagine if let's say if I went over to Germany, or I went to Berlin and went to go to college,
Right.
and I started a bunch of shit. Do you think I'd get the same protections as a German citizen? Oh, hell no. Yeah. And they would more than likely, if I was like really being disruptive, the Germans would be like, send them back to the United States. We're revoking your whatever card it is for education, revoking it. You got to go back. But we're the United States. We can't do that because that'll look at it a bad light.
Yeah. Well, like you said, that you're not a citizen, so therefore the freedom of speech doesn't apply to you.
That is correct.
It doesn't. So you know what? Visa, gone, gone.
Right.
Yeah, bullshit. I mean that I don't understand. But here's the thing: what you got to understand is, and I'm kind of getting a little off topic, but anyway, you got to look at this shit because you have people financing this shit. These kids that are protesting that are from other countries that do have a visa, you're getting people with financial support, supporting these visas and this and the other. And so once you find out that where that money goes, now you're buying, in a sense, freedom that you don't have no right, that you don't have any right to because you're not a citizen of the United States.
Okay, I see that point. Now, okay, so while we're on this topic with the students and everything in the colleges, so I guess I'm waiting for a fallout to happen from Harvard, which you had mentioned, where there are a bunch of law students that were, involved in all of this, riots, and were posting some pretty bad stuff on the internet as far as, kill Israel's and things like that. So they were actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know that the ones that were sending out resumes to some of the law firms, the law firms are like, nah, man, we're not going to hire you. And if I am correct in that, I believe that the school was also like, hey, sorry, this isn't going to happen. So is that an infringement of freedom of speech?
No.
Negative.
Because it has nothing to do, the government, and the reason why I say that, because the specific thing with freedom of speech is the government, whether it has to be a state actor, whether it be the federal government, the state, or whatever, that is within a private entity, and that's a private entity has the right to do, hire, fire, whatever they want to do. There is they are not guided by a private entity. You go to work for a private company, and if they hire you, and they'll be like, for 8 hours a day, from 7 in the morning until you go home at 3 in the afternoon, you can't say shit. You cannot utter a single word. If you do, you'll get written up and all this other stuff. That's a condition of employment. If you sign that, and they're perfectly within, let's say, I kind of just use that as an example, but they're perfectly within their right to say that. So that's their, I can't say. That's like a lot of companies. You can't wear anything political in the office because that's considered a disruption.
Sure.
You know, if you have somebody that comes in with the Trump T-shirt on, and then you have somebody come in with the Biden T-shirt on, they're like, that's disrupting work. So that a lot of places are like, anything political, get off your desk. You can't wear it in here. Sign.
Right.
And then once you sign that or whatever, you're held. And if you don't sign it, they can say bye.
Right.
And they're well within their right. They can. That's just how that is.
See, because the point really is, well, I guess it really isn't, but part of the point is, I didn't prevent you from expressing yourself or speaking whatever you spoke, right? I didn't prevent you from doing that. You had the opportunity to do that. I mean, you could, in this country, you could say whatever you want to say. Now, there could be repercussions for that. There's consequences to all of your actions, whether good or bad.
Right.
And here's my thing. So if you've gone to the point where where you're posting shit, if I'm, say, a law firm, right, and let's just say for whatever reason, if I think you cannot be unbiased in your ability to do your job,
right,
because that's how you're not only is it not how you feel, you've actually taken action on it, plus you've posted stuff that is now there forever. And so I cannot, with any degree of confidence that you're going to be able to do your job. It's like a lot of this stuff with, like a lot of stuff with these congressional hearings with these, like these administration appointed judges.
Right.
And if you've watched, I watched some of it because, and they had these judges that, and I'm just going to say that Biden's appointing that were activists, okay, while they were lawyers, right? And it's like, bruh, you said this, and you wrote this, and you said this. Now you're a judge, and now you're telling me that all that doesn't mean shit,
right?
And you're going to be able to do your job, with unbiased. And be able to, rule in there.
Right.
So I think even the free speech, even though it's free, your speech does, it sometimes even presents you in a certain way or this and the other that can be, now the speech itself can be used against you, but the meaning or how you did it or whatever, lots of times does or has been.
Right.
Well, because you got to look at it. It's like, do I want to hire this person that has this bag? And see, with the advent of the internet, it's like, do I want to hire this person to represent our company?
Right.
That somebody's going to come through that's possibly a client or whatever is going to be like, okay, but then they look at them and they're like, wait a minute, didn't I see a tape on you online? In a couple years ago, they had that big thing. You had, especially these people, there were these women that were on OnlyFans and stuff like that were working jobs like police officer and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, it's like they got found out. And it's like, do we want this person to represent what we do by them stripping or doing all this other stuff, selling pornography, basically, online? And a lot of them were like, nope, you're done. Right. You're being terminated, and they tried to. Some of them they won because there wasn't any type of guidelines or whatever in their bylaws. But some of them it stood up because it said conduct. It's like in the military, conduct unbecoming. It's like if you do something that it reflects badly upon the company. Right. In the military, it's like if you do something that reflects badly on the military, you're out. Right. They're going to boot your ass out, and I think that follows the same way with the company. So if you look at some, like a protest or whatever, because you're going to have liberal law firms, and you're also going to have conservative law firms. There's just no getting around it. People have their bias. I don't care who you are. People have their bias. Look at the Supreme Court. You had two that, because you were talking about that, but you had two that sit there and said, "Oh, we have no opinion about abortion. Abortion's already been taken care of," and da-da-da-da-da. So as soon as they put the robe on, right, send it back to say, it's like, well, boy, you did a 180 on that one. But anyway, they all have their bias. It's just a matter of applying it, just being able to. Jury's a big thing.
There's Roger. Boy, Roger hates Trump. He absolutely hates Trump. Yes, there was bias in there. Here's the problem, though. Here's the difference in that statement. The judges that Trump appointed to go to the certain courts and stuff, they weren't activists. Okay, that's kind of where we get into the problem. So many of these judges that Biden's administration are appointing were activists. I mean, like went after people for their religious beliefs, their viewpoints, this, that, and the other. Okay, that's kind of the difference. Is now you have had judges that were biased that Trump say appointed that maybe had that were probably more pro-life than pro-choice, and so forth and so on, and they might have biases towards that. So that I will, but they didn't have people that were activists that were, as judges, were writing papers and writing decisions to judges for a particular aspect or a particular thing. Like they had this one just the other day where she represented a client whose I'm trying to think what the issue was. The issue was the fact that this girl was raped. Okay, and this judge, or she's in the judge now, but I think this was like 5 years ago, was an activist for. Oh, I got it. Here it is. I know exactly what it is. It was a Loudoun County, Virginia thing, right? So remember when that girl got raped by that transgender dude? Yes. Then they covered it up. Then they sent him to another school and he raped another girl.
Right.
So there was a activist group that was fighting for him to be able to stay in the school, or I forget exactly whatever it was, right? So they had money from wherever the hell they got. So they hired this law firm that she was a part of. This judge volunteered to take that case for the law firm, and they actually made to the point where they said if the girl didn't come forward, like, and expose her, and like expose herself on the stand and this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah, so they could cross-examine her and put her out in the public.
Right.
That they were going to, go after her family and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. And that was one of the actual judges that has gone forward to be one of the judges of I forget what it is, an appellate court of I forget what it is, like the Florida Supreme Court, state Supreme Court, whatever it is. But
Biden has nothing to do with the state Supreme Court.
It's for federal. He appoints them. His administration appoints the Supreme Courts.
Right. He does the federal courts and the appellate court.
Yeah, that's what I said. Appellate.
Yeah, but you said Florida State.
I meant it was in Florida, but it's a federal judge.
Gotcha.
It's in the region of Florida. But anyway,
so talking about judges and freedom of speech, what about the one judge that there were pictures that were taken from his neighbor, which was right across the street, about the one flag with the apple or whatever for the there was a flag that was flown on this judge's property by his wife. It happened twice. One, the American flag was turned upside down.
Oh, that's Judge Alito.
Right. And then the second one was the flag. There was a flag that was flown the day that everything happened at the Capitol. It was a white
upside
flag.
down?
No.
It was a white.
No, she's talking about that. It's that flag that's been associated with Christian,
yes.
with a Christian flag.
Right.
That was actually from back in the 1800s or whatever.
Right.
It came out, but now it's supposedly been adopted by the far right because.
Right.
Because San Francisco, it's funny, San Francisco had that flag flying for like the past 50 years. And now because Alito's henpecked, the wife flew it or whatever,
right.
the San Francisco's like, we've got to take this flag down now because it's been commandeered.
But so here you go again with the freedom of speech.
They're within their right. See, the thing is, though, they were within their right to fly the flag. Right. The problem that people are having, especially on the left, or he's a Supreme Court judge, and he's expressing his opinion of, like, if a court case came up, which it possibly is regarding Trump, that he would be biased in his because of what he, that's like if he went out and put Trump signs all over his yard. Trump 2024. There's not anything anybody can do about it.
Right.
There's a house in Hagerstown that's all he has over his yard. Screw the immigrants and blacks and stuff like that, and he has it all over his yard. Oh, this guy's a fool.
Does he have them electrified?
Well, he's got Trump stuff. I mean, all over the place. But there's not, and he's well within his right, because that's his property,
right,
to do something like that. But the thing that people are pissing and moaning about is that he's a Supreme Court judge.
Right.
And they think that because he's expressing his views of being pro-Trump, that anything that comes up regarding Trump in a court case, he's automatically going to side with Trump.
He needs to recuse himself.
But again, as far as free speech is concerned, they're within their right to do that.
Right. But technically it's his wife. He had no
but
knowledge of this.
Still, even if his wife, him, the kids. If you ask me personally, I'm going off on a side topic. I'm going on a side topic real quick. I get so sick and tired. I remember 40 years ago, you had the American flag, and it was red, white, and blue, and that was it. Now, sweet Jesus, you have everybody is putting every fucking color on this flag, and I even say it for both sides, because I was not happy when they did it with the thin blue line, where the whole flag was black and you had the blue stripe. No, it's the American flag, for Christ's sake. And now you have the rain. I saw one driving down the other day, the American flag in rainbow colors. And I'm like, you stop. The flag is red, white, and blue, period. But now everybody's putting their own shit on. If you ask me, that drives me nuts. Leave the flag alone.
And
if you do turn it, and that's the thing. Now, when Trump got convicted, everybody all his followers turned the flag upside down, which they have no clue, and I blame that on ignorance, because they have no clue what that means. It's like, do you really know what that means and where it started from? That came back from the days of war. Like if the British were at your house or whatever, that was a way to indicate that there was something going on in your house, and for somebody to come in and. Anyway.
A lot of them actually do know that.
Well,
the problem is why they're using it is because you had something that was planned.
Right.
You even had the third top lawyer in the Justice Department left his job to go onto the state court to do it.
But it's still okay. I get it. The case was stupid. I get it completely. But to fly the flag upside down.
Well, I don't agree with that. But again,
it's like why don't we just put fucking Trump on the stars, get rid of the stars, and put Trump on there, and then fly that? Would that be all right? Yeah, it's bullshit.
Well,
that's like everybody bitches about. Everybody wants to have their own flags. They have the red and black. I saw one that was green. Then I have one for I support the military, the police, and the fire department. So they got freaking 4 colors on the flag for that. And it's like, leave the flag alone. How many times you go overseas do you see the Union Jack or any other country's flags that everybody can just throw whatever fucking color they want to on there, or do whatever the hell they want to it? And see, I think that was a part of freedom of speech too, was dealing with the flag.
Right. But see, here again, we go back to the topic of free speech.
Right.
But you have those areas.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think that's why everybody does it now.
What's
because
the definition?
It's the expression. It's an expression.
Sure, but you have to draw a line at some point in time. And, I agree with you. The flag is the flag. There's a meaning behind it. So where is that line? I want to show my, my freedom of speech and turn my flag upside down. Okay.
I agree, but you know what? No, people haven't given a flying fuck about that flag in decades.
That's true. And
they have not given a flying fuck about that flag in decades.
Since
we have so many fucking scumbags, little bitch-ass motherfuckers right here that want to talk all the shit, because we do have freedom of speech, but have done nothing. They have done nothing to either represent that flag with any kind of dignity or even paid their dues to it. I'm not saying everybody's got to go in the military.
Right.
But it's bullshit. And so we've allowed this, and I'm going to say my bias, this leftist fucking little bullshit to run this country. And now you look at it, and this country is a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke. Because, I mean, look at all the other countries, you know? They're like, we're supposed to be the strongest and stuff. We're a fucking joke, right? And I get it. And oh, by the way, there is the LGBTQ. They do have a pink Union Jack. In case you didn't know that, there's a pink Union Jack. I've seen it in the parades.
Well, there you go. Well, yeah, and you're right about the flag. Nobody's after September 11th. Probably that year after September 11th was the last time you actually saw respect for the flag, and then nobody
gives a shit about the flag. Nobody gives a shit about the veterans. Nobody gives a shit about the military. Everybody thinks that the whole world's just gonna be kumbaya on its own.
Yep.
If we just open up a Coke and then sing a bunch of hippie songs.
Yeah, let Hamas. Hamas is very peaceful. They're a peaceful group.
Fucking bullshit. So I wanted to cover a little something. I don't know where.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So let's talk about NFL.
Okay.
All right. So the whole thing when they started, way back when, how do you feel about them taking a knee during the anthem? Do you feel that was a legitimate expression or free speech?
Okay. So in my opinion, I believe that was complete and utter bullshit. Now, as far as free speech goes, here is again where I can use it as I want to use it, and everybody else can get pissed off about it, but this is my expression of freedom of speech. So there is a time and a place for everything. And I know that there were some of the teams that were like, dude, you're going to fucking stand up and you are going to be a part of this national anthem. Or if not, your ass can sit back in the locker room until everything is said and done. Now, as far as the NFL goes, again, we were talking about private enterprises and things like that. No, my bylaw is you are going to stand up and you will be present for the national anthem. Now, if you look at the fallout from that whole thing, the guy can't get a job. I can't remember his name, which I should definitely know, but he can't get a job in the NFL.
Kaepernick.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Kaepernick.
Right. So,
well, he ran his mouth too about a bunch of other shit, but yes, that started the whole ball of wax.
Right, but again, I can hide behind the cover of freedom of speech. So again, there has to come a line that needs to be drawn with the freedom of speech. Is the freedom of speech too much freedom?
So, playing devil's advocate on that.
Okay.
On that subject, just real quick, because I agree, but and I think there again the NFL was the ones that screwed that whole thing up because
right.
they could have had it explicitly put in their contracts, but we don't get started on that jackass that's running the NFL right now. But if you were in the stands, let's say if you were in the stands of the stadium, and if you look around, how many times when the national anthem's playing now, not compared to like 50 years ago, but I'm talking about
right.
now, do you see people just him-hawing around, drinking beer, still sitting in their seat, on their phone, while the Star-Spangled Banner's on? So would you hold the same standard of that athlete who kneels to these people that are just completely, oblivious? Because it's we see the player on the field because the media has the camera right on them. If the camera wasn't, if the fucking media wouldn't focus on them and make it such a big deal, it'd be like they wouldn't do it, or we'd just be like, what the fuck? But then it's like, look around the stands. Every time I see like I've been watching NBA finals and NHL finals, and you go around, and most everybody you see standing up, but you see pockets of people, they're on their phone, doing this,
right.
And it's like, okay, so you all aren't respecting the shit. So should the same standard apply to spectators as well as the participants?
So here is that slippery slope. Now, is it a freedom of speech, or is it the I just don't give a shit?
Could be both.
So
Now, and I will give you that, as somebody that's kneeling or whatever is obviously quote unquote protesting
Right.
for whatever the hell stupid reason they are. But so you can't necessarily tell that. What about, except for the ones maybe sitting down in their seat?
right now, I remember back when I was growing up, we had the Pledge of Allegiance every single morning in, elementary school, high school, middle school. And one of the things that we were taught is you stand up for the national anthem. If you have a hat on, you take it off. Or obviously you take it off, you put it over your heart. Or you hold it and you put your hand over your heart. So that, I guess, is the question of, is it stupidity? Is it I don't give a shit? Is it I don't know any better? Like, why the hell are all these people standing up? I don't get it. So, it's one of those things where, could it be something like a peer pressure as far as the fans go? As, shit, I see everybody else standing up. I'm going to stand up too. If you see a bunch of people looking up, then your first instinct is, well, what the hell's going on up there?
Yeah.
So I know it's a kind of a weak argument on my end, but, is it something that just isn't taught anymore? Is it something?
It's correct, because you can opt out of that now. And I remember when I was in school, you had to stand,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
but you didn't have to put heart, and you didn't have to recite. If there's something that you had as an issue or whatever, for whatever reason, you had to stand, but you didn't have to do anything more than that.
Right. You didn't have to participate other than standing.
So my thing with the people that stands is like, what penalty or whatever are you going to impose on them?
Right.
You
I
can't.
mean, yeah.
See, my thing is with the football players. Here's my deal. All right. So let's just say I'm a Nazi. I mean, unlike Tex here, we know he's a Nazi. But let's just say I'm a Nazi, or whatever, right? And I'm working McDonald's. 10 minutes into my shift, I start Heil Hitler, right?
Right.
No, you're paid. You're paid to do a job there. Heil Hitler and all that other shit is not what you're paid to do. So your ass is out. My thing is, you're there to play football, okay? You can protest afterwards. You can go on Twitter. You can go on anything else you want, and you can blow the shit up, right? But when you're here, you're on the clock as part of your contract, and you will adhere to our rules and everything else while you're here. That's my issue, and that's the problem I have with them kneeling.
But see, that the key. You just said it though. The key is it in the contract? Is there something that can be spelled out in the contract that says that during the time when the national anthem is played, that you have
it probably
to
doesn't
conduct
say
yourself.
It probably doesn't say specifically, but it says it probably does say something like you will conduct yourself appropriately,
Right.
During,
because see, that could be
whatever.
that could be something that's easily challenged in court.
Well, they could challenge it, but it's like
so what's
but you're paid. But right now you're on the clock.
Right.
I agree.
All right. So you could say, and I guarantee there's something in there. Probably, obviously not standing up for that, but there's probably a whole code of conduct and this, that, and the other that they've signed. And I'm sure that somebody could probably point out that you're disrupting,
Right.
or you're causing a disruption or causing something to be other than what it's meant for as far as the game,
Right.
or what have you.
Well,
But-
and you're right, because look at what happens when they do something stupid off the field, because there is a code of conduct. They're fined, or they can get banned in a worst case scenario, because you're reflecting bad upon the brand.
Right.
That's why they can't go out. If you're in the NFL, Major League Baseball, basketball, or whatever, when you're out in public, you can't just get completely stupid. Otherwise, they'll be like, you like that money, or you're going to lose it.
Right.
So you just have the situations, and I think as far as the NFL goes, because if you look, a lot of ones with kneeling, and it basically it's kind of gone away now for the most part. But the owners kind of took care of that. Because if you look at most of the owners, some of the owners were just like, let them do what they want.
Right.
But other owners behind closed doors were like, you ain't doing that shit again.
Right.
And a lot of the owners were like, we're not signing you back. Get rid of them. And they did.
Right.
So the owners did kind of. So you have Goodell, who runs the whole NFL. He's a jackass because he's a moron. But the owners, I think, policed their own teams the way they wanted to, and I kind of think that's how it for the most part it should be, because the owners took corrective action, especially with Kaepernick.
Right.
San Francisco's like, dude, we're not re-signing you. You're done. You're sitting on the bench. Well, one, you suck. You had one good year, and then you just kind of went. So, and then now you're making this, and it's like, we don't need this shit.
Right.
And the owner was just like, go. And no other team. All the other owners were like, we ain't signing them. We don't want all that bullshit. And then look, because that was the case. The other owners were like, we're not taking a chance on them because we don't want that negativity or whatever, or the attention he's brought to this team.
Right.
We want to concentrate on football. So the owners, with the exception of a couple, but for the most part, I think they kind of policed it themselves, like the Steelers. It was like the one time the Steelers had their football game, and they said, okay, so instead of everybody freaking out, you're doing this and this, and the camera's being on it, we're just going to kind of stay in the back. Unless you want to go out and participate, we're just going to stand in the back and come out after the fact.
Right.
And then you had the guy the lineman from the Steelers, who was the
he
veteran.
Was a veteran.
He was a veteran in the Army, and he stood by the tunnel for the national anthem, and everybody respected that. And after it was done, the Steelers came out on the field.
Right.
So it's like, okay.
Yeah,
so
fuck them. Fuck all of them people. So the thing is like this, but the point is like in football, right? First is you can't have any other freedom of speech or expression, right? You can't wear any cleats you want. They have like the cleats for a cause, and so there's a
certain time period.
Right.
There's a big deal with face masks, right? Like I think somebody from the Giants had this really crazy ass face mask, right? Blah blah blah. They're like, no, you can't have that. It's too individual, or it poses too many individualism. You can't have it, right? Or you can't have certain things on your helmet. If they agree, they can have a sticker for like a past player or something, whatever. But you can't just put whatever. So there's all this stuff that they have that they don't allow you to do and that you can't do, right? So the simple fact that they allowed them to kneel, I think that's bullshit, because you don't allow any other expression, whether that's freedom of speech or anything else.
Right.
So I'm like, bullshit. And by the way, once you look at the statistics, what you were protesting was complete fucking bullshit.
Right.
It was bullshit. Just look at the statistics.
Right.
It's bullshit.
So
You're full of crap. Crap!
Let's go down another slippery slope.
Oh shit! Here we go.
What do you got first now, Ed?
Okay. So there is a time, place, and manner restrictions. When it comes to public expression of opinion and large-scale demonstration, governments can place reasonable restrictions on the time, place, and way individuals and groups can gather to engage in their protected political speech. So-called time, place, and manner restrictions are allowed because they serve the public's competing interests in keeping traffic flowing, preserving property, and protecting the environment, among others. So while both individuals and groups have the right to public speech, they can be required to respect time, place, and manner restrictions. So that goes back to the whole school thing.
Well, yeah, be that and getting the permit
Sure.
to protest and blocking the roads,
Right.
Because it's like, wait a minute, you didn't get permission to block the Beltway,
Right.
so the government can, by what you just said, can legally go in and be like, that has nothing to do with freedom of speech.
Okay.
Because you didn't apply it. That's
Sure.
how I'm reading it.
Sure. So now for that slippery slope.
I was gonna say I was waiting for your question.
Talking about the time, place, and manner restrictions. So Jordan Peterson, very famous guy as far as I'm concerned, is a genius, and a lot of other people think that as well. He is a college professor in Canada, Toronto to be exact. So I don't know if you guys have seen the video. Basically, he had some shit going down against him.
Oh, I follow him
Exactly.
extensively.
So he was blasted by students in his college because, well, actually the college and others, about refusing to use special pronouns for the transgenders. Now, the clause is, in Canada, I think it's Article 15A, that it is part of that law now that you have to use the pronouns that someone wants you to use. So basically the government in Canada has stepped in and said, okay, you have to use these. Jordan Peterson's argument is, I'm not doing that shit. So here's the question. As far as the gender pronouns, is it considered common courtesy to call people by their wanted pronouns? Now, I know when we were growing up, it was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. So what if I decide that I want to be...
Yes, they, no, they.
I think it's they.
They and Z?
Yeah. So, again, we've got freedom of speech. So my thing is I want to be referred to as they. What's your opinion on that? What's your thoughts on this? Is it an infringement? Because my freedom of speech is I'm transgender. I'm not sure exactly where I want to be at, but I want to be referred to as Z. Would you call me that as far as common courtesy goes?
I'll let him go first because he's right. He's going to explode on this one.
This is simple. The issue that Jordan Peterson had, actually in his classroom, he would refer to them by their preferred pronouns. The problem that Jordan Peterson had, and I'm 100% behind him, is when the government now dictated to make, or they took it upon themselves to make a law that says you shall use this, going against everything that has ever been, against biology, against just what you call societal norms, culture. I mean, whatever you want to put in there, completely against it. So his thing was, if I have a student in my classroom that comes and asks me to call me they, I will. But if you're telling me as a Canadian government that you're going to make it a law that says I have to, negative.
Right.
And he said, I'll go to jail for it. He said, that is nobody, he says, no government in recent times has gone so far as to dictate speech that is allowed or not allowed. Like particular speech, obviously not including the articles that you talked about as far as, certain time, place, whatever. It's, you're dictating to me that I have to go against everything that has ever been and say I have to call you not only by a pronoun, but something that is completely fucking ridiculous. Like they or them and they and this, that, and the other. So you want me to completely change English speech. And he's like, I'm not doing it.
Well, not only that, I'm sure because of the law that there's obviously, because it's a law, there's a penalty attached to it. It's like, okay, so if you don't call
Pat,
you don't call Pat they,
right?
You can get fired, or you're going to get fined $1,000 every time you don't do something. That's
and it's a misdemeanor. However, it's a misdemeanor that goes on your record.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was dealing drugs, or it wasn't like I stabbed somebody, or this and the other. I used the wrong pronoun, and one of his biggest issues, other than that, was there was no clause in that said that certain to the thing of for you to know what their pronoun is, right? So so they don't have to necessarily tell you their pronoun. You just use the wrong pronoun. Boom.
I'm turning you in.
Turn you in. Kind of like they're doing over in China for other shit. But yeah, no, that is 100% complete infringement on the freedom of speech. Yeah, no, that is bullshit.
Canada operates on a different frequency than we do too, so that's not surprising.
All right.
If something like that tried to get passed, it would be very hard for something like that to get passed here. Now, on a college level, yeah, I can see it. Like, if you welcome to Princeton, if you come here, you must address everybody by the proper pronouns. Whatever the student said. I can see shit like that. But the government wide,
that's why I'm just gonna call you. That way, I don't offend you. I'm just gonna call you asshole.
Well, yeah. Well, my thing is this.
Hey, asshole. See?
And I answered you.
That's right. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not using the wrong pronouns at all.
Right.
That's not a pronoun. Hey, asshole.
It's my pet name for you.
Fuckhead. Fuck face.
Hey, bitch.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. That could be considered like that's the female dog.
Right.
My thing is this: when I was in school, who calls people by their pronouns anyway? When I went to school, my teacher called me by my name.
Right. But we called them by Mr. Peterson or
okay, or say teacher, professor. Excuse me, professor,
right.
Teacher, or whatever. So you can use neutral nouns,
right?
But what is this? What is this thing?
But it'll usually be in a conversation,
right?
It's never when you really necessarily address somebody. Because I could say, "Hey Ed, we were going over there and text whatever," and he said, "Well, I know text said so he said like you said, use your name,
right?"
But it's like, well, he said, well, he, that's they,
right?
So it's only when it comes into kind of that in a conversation or something that we're talking about that you'll ever kind of really ever use a pronoun to begin with.
I was gonna say, if this day and age, if it were me, I would just use names. It's like, okay. Yep. What's your name? I'm not even gonna guess what sex you are or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Is your name Tina?
I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit.
You can go
What's
out,
your name?
You can be whatever. What's your name?
Right.
What's your given name? Camara. Okay, Camara. Yes. At that time, I'm gonna start. I just in every conversation, I'd be like using the first names. If I'm a teacher, I want you all to call me teacher. Call me professor. Don't call me anything else. Or offline, if we later on, you can call me by my first name. But it's like this whole thing with the pronouns. It's like, it's nauseating. And if you ask me to get back to what you said before, to me personally, I think it's you do something like that out of common courtesy. You should not be required to do it because how can I guess if you have a beard and a mustache and you're wearing cowboy boots and the whole 9 yards, and I go up to say, hey, look at him over there. I'm not a him. I'm Zay. Right. You're like, well, you look like a him, but I'm not going to guess it. But it should be, you'd be like, okay, I'm sorry, apologize. You look like a him. But I'll call you Zay from here, or them, or they, whatever, from here on out. It should be out of common courtesy if one so desires, but I don't think it should be mandatory. It shouldn't be mandatory. It shouldn't be required.
But here's the problem. Well, there's many problems. It's fucking stupid. That's one.
Roger used elbow test.
Yep. It's fucking stupid to begin with. But number two, they have there's this whole thing where somebody is either transgender, gender fluid, this and the other. So they actually change from day to day.
Right.
I could be them today. Tomorrow I want to go Zay. Now, okay, well them. Hey, them. Hey, I'm Zay, motherfucker.
Right.
So I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Fuck you. You're an idiot. Shut the fuck up.
That's why you see it like on a signature block on email. Him, he, she.
Yeah.
They've got it spread all the way at the bottom. It's like, I give up.
Now, I do know of someone that actually resigned from their position in a large company because it was required you need to put your pronoun on your email address. Like, when you send an email, instead of saying thanks, Ed, it's like, Edward Piotrowski, here's my phone number, blah, blah, blah. He actually resigned because it was forced
I wouldn't do
to
it.
make him do that.
I wouldn't do it. I was like, fuck y'all. I'm out.
But see, there again, and that's well within his right, but it's also within the company's right also.
Right.
So if the company put that in policy, he has if it's like, I ain't doing it, well, then, that, and that's fine. And that's, to me, that's how it should be. It's like, why am I going to go get a job at some place where I disagree with half of the shit they put on there,
Right.
that I don't want to follow?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. But, and obviously once you're hired and you get somebody that comes in that's brand new and starts changing shit up,
Right.
then you've really got to think, is the money, am I here for the money or am I here for the job? And it's like, then you've got to sit there and say, you know what, you're getting a little bit too crazy like that guy did. It's just
Right.
like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, because he was there.
I'm holding by my principles.
He was there for years, so it wasn't like he was just there for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this
No.
guy was heavily
Good for him.
invested.
I'd walk out. I'd be like, no, I'm done.
But see that you say that though, but if you're making like 6-figure salary,
Well,
and let's say
if I'm that good, I can make it 6 figures somewhere else.
Right. That's
That's
true.
my thing.
Yeah. If you go home.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to go set something else up and
Right.
then leave.
yeah, dude, I'm gonna just quit right
I'm
off.
not walking around
I'm
the
like-
bat. I mean, I got 2 kids in college, for fuck's sake. But the place I work, which I can't say, the place I work, let me tell you something. They go freaking overboard with all this shit. With transgender, LGBTQI, STUV, WXYZ, all this other bullshit. Friday they had ice cream social. I said I'm not going to go because they have nothing but rainbow sprinkles and I
Rainbow
do
sherbet.
chocolate. But they're like, hey, you going to go down? I'm like, no, I don't support it. I said you can do anything that you want, and everybody. I had a couple people from my team walk down and participate. Fine and good. More power to you. I'm not going down because I don't support that shit. Right?
I would go down for the ice cream. I wouldn't give a shit
Well,
what's going on.
Well, the problem was they have somebody dipping it, and if you've had your hands over somebody's another dude and his with his asshole,
so stupid.
and you're like getting the ice cream off, I don't know. So it's just
Yeah, he was jacking off a bunch of the half the staff before he dipped.
no. I'm just saying he might have had his fingers up somebody's asshole before he started.
You're
dipping
stupid.
the ice cream. No, I'm just kidding. I was just like, no, I just don't want to be in the middle of that shit, right? I don't.
That one scoop or two.
Why are you scooping it out of his ass? But I just
It's a milkshake.
Said you wanted chocolate sprinkles.
hey, I asked for a milkshake, not a tossed salad. But no, it's just I just like, look, it's better, that's just not my deal,
Right.
right? So forth. So I'm just like, I said, man, everybody can go down. You can do whatever you want, man. It is a free country. Again, I don't know if that goes into freedoms, but not really freedom of speech. You want to go down and participate? Fine. I'm not gonna hinder you or quit you. Now, you need to make that time up because you're getting paid to work.
Right.
You're not getting paid to go there and diddle somebody with sprinkles and a sugar cone up his ass.
Why does it have to be about? What if it's 2 ladies?
But I did say, as kind of a joke, I did say, well, no, because I said, well, I'll probably not participate because they probably have nothing but rainbow sprinkles, and I like chocolate sprinkles. So it was like something to kind of
Ease the tension.
ease the tension and just whatever else.
Something along the same lines that I was not like that.
Yeah, sure, kind
But
of your ass?
all the time. I have a waffle cone.
That's big. That's bigger.
Anyway,
Waffle bowl.
I'm working on it.
Go ahead. Oh, shit.
But anyway,
Bang.
but there was a similar situation that there was a like a ceremony or something going on, and either the individual or the individual that was there, who it was for, or the actual what the ceremony was about, I didn't agree with. So I chose not to go. I said, can we opt out of this? I said, and they were like, well, and it was funny that the look I got from my boss was just like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm opting out of it. I'm not going. And then they were like, well, and everybody else kind of went, and they're like, well, you and so-and-so and so-and-so will be, we'll keep you here working. I'm like, that's fine.
Right.
So I did kind of a similar thing. Because if I'm not going to go to cuz if there is somebody, a person, or an event that goes on that I don't agree with, if I had the option, a choice not to attend, I'm not going to attend.
Right.
Because there again, it shows if I'm by my physical presence there, that would mean like there's some sort of support. And if I don't support that person, that would be kind of false on my part. It just that's my thing.
Right. Well, I think the other thing too is that if you didn't want to go, but you were forced to go, you put off that vibe. So the people that wanted to be there are like, man, what the fuck? This guy's
See, again, that's a perfect example. Why have people that don't support or whatever, kind of crushing your vibe, man? I mean, that's another reason, just for the simple fact.
Unless you're in the military, because I'm going to tell you right now, there was numerous times in the military that we had to go in formation to an event or a ceremony. And the person it was for was a asshole, cocksucker, son of a bitch. Excuse my language. Sorry.
Wow.
and it's like, and of course the military, you're like, can I opt out? And they start like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, you're in a whole formation and you're standing there and you got to listen to this person. And this person could have put your life in danger, could have shit on you and your whole unit. But because there's some mucky-muck, some colonel, captain, whatever, you got to go to the function and listen to the bullshit coming out of his mouth. I love all my people. I looked after all my troops. And I'm actually saying this because this actually happened. And it's like, the hell you did. It's like you didn't do two shits when we were over in the desert. And we're forced to come listen to this speech by you giving out all these lies. And, of course, you're sitting there and you're in parade rest. But there again, you're in the military. You're required to go because if you don't, there's consequences. So, I mean, is that a freedom of speech issue? No, because I raised my hand and enlisted, and I knew what was going to happen. Did I try to get out of functions before? Yes. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. There you go.
Yeah. Well, it depends. Sometimes you can't
opt out,
right?
Yeah.
Because you have to be. I'm like, I let people know right when I come into somewhere, I'm salty as shit. I'm like, look, I done paid dues. I've been here and there. Look, any of your other little bullshit stuff, I'm not doing.
Right.
You have a baby shower for somebody that I don't really know, I'm not fucking going. Matter of fact, I'm getting off subject. We actually had a woman, no lie, had coordinated this whole party and everything else, right? For her son, who graduated high school. Okay? Now, before you ask, they lived in a very, very affluent neighborhood. Okay? He didn't have any disabilities or learning disabilities. He wasn't like autistic or whatever else. Mother, father, whole family intact. Okay, well, she wasn't a single mother. Okay, but had created, set this whole thing up to have a party because he's not there because of where I work, because you can't just pull people in for whatever. So when I had this party, or wanted to have this party for her son that graduated at high school.
And he's not there.
No. I know this is a little off topic, but we're talking about this, and I'm looking at her like,
Are you nuts?
Are you out of your fucking mind?
So have a party for me, for my son.
Pretty much.
You think narcissism kicked in anywhere on that one?
So they pass around the envelope. I'm like, not no, but fuck no.
For what? What
For
envelope?
money?
For money, for her son. I'm like,
You know what? You know what they used to do as what we used to do back in the day as a protest for a tip. Like if you had bad service, you put out like a penny or something like that. I put a damn penny in the envelope. But like, Bert, there you go.
I ain't giving you shit. But again, this is I know freedom of speech, but it's that whole thing. But again, it comes back down to where springboard off of what Tex said is having me participate in something that I think is completely stupid, and this, that, and the other. And I think it is a violation of speech. Like, for instance, if they would have made me go down to this Pride
ice cream
thing, that to me would have been infringement on my rights. Maybe not infringement of speech, but or whatever. I would have been like, no, I would have walked out. Because do I have a problem with gay community? No, but the simple fact that you're expecting you're going to infringe that on me that I have to support. I'll support you to live your life however you want to, but to come to me and say I have to support it and agree with it and believe in it and this, that, and the other, no, I'm not going to.
Just like in along the same lines, just like if you were somebody that was extremely religious and celebrated like Passover, Easter, had all these religious things, and it's like let's say if you were required to go to that religious service, and it's like, well, I'm not even,
right.
So it's like, yeah, so it's.
Well, if they had the matzah soup, I'd go because the matzah soup's really good.
But yeah,
I love matzah soup.
I do like matzo ball.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So I guess going back to the original question, do we have too much freedom when it comes to freedom of speech?
Yes, we do, because people don't. What you call it? They don't. Shit, I just lost it. The rules and regulations and this and the other. People don't enforce. If they enforced the rules that we had on the books, this whole protest boat, this whole fucking anti-protest Palestinian protesters wouldn't have happened. They'd say, okay, now you've got to do a disruption. Now it's not freedom of speech. Now you're actually infringing on other else. Not having it. You're done. You wouldn't have all the freaking George Floyd fucking bullshit stuff they had back in the year where they destroyed all this, where they had the autonomous zone. You wouldn't have had any of that shit. You just would have.
So, well, to see that, you just kind of was going to state the point I said. I say no. I say it's just fine. Just like with gun laws, the enforcement needs to be done on an equitable scale, which it'll never happen. But I don't think it's too much freedom. I just think that they need to start applying the law equitably, and if they did, in enforcing it. And if they did, I don't think you would see the problem. But now everybody wants to wrap themselves around the Constitution whenever it suits them, whether it be speech, religion, guns, the whole 9 yards. And it's like, or burn it when it doesn't suit them. And I think, no, you have to apply freedom of speech equitably across the board. The colleges, if it's on the books at the college, then they need to be held, the college heads need to be held accountable for not enforcing the laws that they have on the books about people. If they have a guideline for protesting on campus in A, B, C, and D, but let's say that none of that was followed during that, then you're obligated to enforce that law to shut it down. Because it's just like you said there with the gun law, there's a shitload of gun laws. There are. You have to be squeaky clean for the most part to get a gun. But they keep want to add more and more to keep legitimate citizens from getting guns. It's like, but it's like enforce the laws that you have on the books. If you enforce it, you wouldn't have nearly the issues that you have now. And the guy up in Newton, Connecticut, because they made the thing with I guess those kids just graduated, when the first grade, all those first graders got killed. And I remember there was a ton of red flags set up about that kid. And it's like, why? It's like, you know about it. Why don't you respond? Enforce the law. The guy that just got caught, the illegal immigrant that just got caught, that killed the jogger up in your neck of the woods.
Yes.
And home invaded that family out in California. He was in trouble already back like 10 years ago. They deported. He came back. And it's like, it's like all this other. They knew that this guy was a bad character, and then they picked him up in Oklahoma when they finally got him. So he was probably about ready to go kill another lady. But enforce what you have on the books. We wouldn't have nearly half the problems we have. Because all that's going to happen is if you try to restrict it more, the speech more and more. I mean, that's fine. You can make a law, but if you don't enforce it, that's like if you're speeding. Okay, if you go over the speed limit, which is 70 miles an hour on the highway, you can't go over it. But you got to be able to enforce it. So that if you don't, then it's a free for all.
See, I'm going to say one more thing, and I'm done. The stuff like, especially with the schools or like the colleges and stuff. It actually crossed the line from freedom of speech into criminal activity. That right there was the biggest issue. When it comes down to intimidation, when it comes down to threatening, they were threatening these Jewish students. They were threatening them, and all this stuff.
Breaking and entering.
Breaking and entering, spray paint, So now you've gone from freedom of speech into criminal activity, but yet we still did not enforce any laws on that, and it got way out of control when they should have nipped it in the bud.
I agree.
Except in Columbia, when the cops, I love that, watching the video when the cops busted in where they had the library or whatever chain, and the cops were just like, all right, this is it, we're going in, and you saw them cutting the chains, and they're screaming, ah! Ah! The cops are going in and throwing the tables around. That shit was awesome.
And I'll just say one more thing. And like Tech said before, there were a lot of players in these colleges that were not. They weren't even at the college. And this is where I kind of get into a little bit about where I know Rodri talks about left wing, right wing. These left pieces of shit pay these people. Remember we talked about the pallet of bricks over by George Floyd protests. This is left wing people that pay these people to deliver the bricks, to go into these schools and say pro Palestine, this and the other. These are people. This is an orchestrated, paid situation. Right then, I think you're no longer in freedom of speech. Now you're orchestrating and you're influencing these. Because let's be honest. A lot of the kids nowadays in college are stupid as a bag of hammers. But now you're influencing them, and granted they're making their own choices. I get it. But now you're influencing them to make decisions or to do things that they probably wouldn't have done unless you came in. But we have people that are paying for these people and paying for their bail and getting them out.
Well, it's just like all these online influencers. The same thing.
Yeah.
It's like they're influencing. They're using their platform on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, to influence kids that are looking for something to attach their flag, so to speak, or attach their chain, their hook on, and they get these people. And I agree with you 100%. Professional, you got these professional protesters that are paid protesters that go from, and almost all of it is Antifa, because that's just what they do, disrupt.
That's because they're paid by George Soros.
And it's funny. And what's funny is they're saying, you got the Democrats are like, oh, our convention's going to be peaceful. Just wait till September comes and that convention's in Chicago. It's just going to be like there are going to be protesters out the wazoo out there, paid by their own side, paid by their own far left wing of the party to protest their own damn convention. We'll see.
We will see.
Stupid idiots.
All right. Well,
so what's your stance on that last question?
So my stance is I agree that yes, we do have too much freedom, simply because of what you stated. So I know you said no, But kind of what you said, as far as what I took it as, is kind of a yes. If all of the boundaries and everything were set, everything was filled in, and if you cross this line, here's what's going to happen to you, then I would say, no, we don't have too much freedom of speech. But I think now, because I can make it whatever I want to, you piss me off, so now I'm going to hold people in front of your doorstep because you pissed me off. But then if something happens, well, hey, you shot at me, but that's my freedom of speech. You took that away from me, even though you're protecting yourself. So that's the thing that I don't like, is it can be wrapped around to make it however that person, that group, or whatever wants to use it as.
And sorry, one more thing.
Sure.
And especially when you get to like the liberal cities, right, where they're actually where these DAs are not, and they have like the no cash bails. So now they're taking free speech and say, well, I can do whatever the hell I want because you're not gonna charge me for it, or I'm not gonna spend any time in jail. I don't even have to post bond. You're just gonna let me out. So now you get to the point where I think is granted. I say we don't have too many freedoms, but we do in the simple fact that if you're not willing to enforce the shit, I mean, what's the cop supposed to do? I go arrest you for breaking the law, even if you're like, say you're disrupting.
Right.
Freedom of speech, no, but you're disrupting or you're threatening. I put you in there. The door's not even finished swinging around before you're back out.
Right.
So just a little food for thought.
Speaking of food,
kind of along this line. I had some interesting tidbits, but I'll wane that because it's getting kind of late. There's a case that's about ready to come up before the Supreme Court, First Amendment or Second Amendment with guns. Okay, for the longest time you had like people that commit domestic violence, and it kind of brought to the forefront with Hunter Biden. And should somebody that's on drugs be allowed to have a gun, even though they haven't been charged with anything?
Right.
But well, we know that whole story. But so there's a case that's about ready to come up before the Supreme Court, that somebody who is a domestic abuser is fighting to have his rights to have a gun. The Supreme Court's going to hear it. It made it all the way up there because there's a law in the book. It's the I can't remember what the law is, but if you were convicted or charged with domestic violence, you could not own or carry a firearm. Period.
Which I agree with.
So that's the thing. He's saying, you're taking away my rights. What does that have to do of you're taking away my rights to carry a firearm?
Well, I mean,
you're going to see a lot more coming up because of the circus trial with Trump. But if everything stays the way it stays, let's say if he stays a felon, by federal law, felons cannot own a firearm. Period. So, how's that? Is that going to get challenged in court? I mean, what are they? I personally think it's too blanket. Domestic violence or whatever. But there's a law in the books now that says people that commit domestic violence cannot own a firearm. The Supreme Court's about ready to listen to it to see if they're going to overthrow it.
Well, I hope they actually include in there the red flag laws.
Right.
Because the red flag laws are bullshit too. Because just because you have a problem with me, and you could say, oh, this, that, and the other, blah blah blah, they can take away my guns till they investigate. You know how long if they investigate to begin with?
Right.
Yeah.
You know how long it's going to take? So now I'm with, because I haven't even been convicted yet. Now I have my weapon. So if somebody breaks in my house.
So we could do another show. That's another show right there, just on the Second Amendment, because there's a lot of challenges coming up on it, with certain issues. And the Lautenberg Amendment, that's the Lautenberg Amendment was the one about domestic violence. It's like if you were charged, or if you were being charged or convicted of domestic violence, you couldn't own a firearm. Period. And they kicked you out of the military because if you were in the military and you got beat your wife or whatever like that, if you were in a position where you carried M16 or M4 or whatever, you're done because you're useless to us. The law says you cannot carry a firearm.
And we're finding out a lot of cases, because I watch these, what do you call them? Body cam things?
Yes.
Where a lot of these, I won't say a lot, okay, let me go a lot, but a significant number that is much more than what people think when you're going into these calls and it's domestic violence, finding out it's not the dude, it's the girl, or they even have, there's been a bunch of them I've seen where they're witnesses that say, no, she was abusing him, but she's got marks on him, and if she's got marks on her, he automatically goes to jail and gets charged with it. And it wasn't for these witnesses that said, no, she did that to herself. He was trying to back her off and whatever else. But if there would have nothing like that, especially these door ring cameras, they're starting to see some of that shit. He'd have been convicted. So if that stays, I'm not even. Well, even if I was convicted, you charged me with domestic violence, which is a trumped up charge because I didn't.
Right.
But
so you're almost proven guilty. You're guilty you got to prove yourself innocent.
You're guilty to prove it innocent.
But see, that's the thing. Instead of using this, we have a tendency to, because it's easy, you use a broad brush to sit there and to paint everything under. It's like, well, for now you're with this broad brush, but if you take the time, it's like, look at things at like a certain level. Like felon, say you have a white collar guy with mortgage fraud, okay? Never had a gun in his life because his name's Poindexter, but he was caught mortgage fraud. He was cooking the books, whatever. So he got charged with a felony, federal crime, got sent to prison for a couple years. But now he can never own a firearm, and it's like, well, yeah, but he didn't use one in the commission of his crime and other stuff like that.
He's nonviolent.
He's nonviolent, So you're putting him in the same you put him in the same basket as the drug dealer who shot and killed 10 people with a stolen gun, So it's like, so there's this, but see, we as we like to use this broad brush, and I think it all applies to free speech as well. You get that broad brush to sit there and paint everything instead of looking at specific incidents as they arise, because like you said, domestic violence, if the dude in certain states, the guy's automatically going off to prison. It's funny, you watch the cop shows, and they tell him, dude, you're gone.
I'll get you, bitch.
Yeah. And because he's convicted, not necessarily, or he's charged, he's not convicted yet, but because he's charged, they have to take his firearms away from him.
Yeah.
So, but if they look at it with the level, it's like, well, she's actually the offender. Until it goes out to court, let's go ahead and let him. We'll leave. Dude, you can keep your firearms. Just don't. But if she gets a bullet put in her, we're kind of coming after you.
Right.
It's like you said, the broad brush, and then they'll say we're gonna broad stroke it till we figure it out. But they never come back and figure it out.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
Like the gun laws. Well, we're just gonna implement this lockdown for everybody, blah blah blah, and we'll figure it out. No, they never come back to figure it out because the criminals aren't going to Bud's Guns, going through a background check and going and getting a gun like that.
Right.
So yeah, don't get me started on gun shit.
Well, how about immigration too?
Oh yeah, we could do immigration, man. I got
that big broad brush. Anyway,
don't get me started on immigration.
All right, everybody. Thank you, guys. This was really good discussion here. I like it. All right. So for those of you that are watching or will watch, smash that like button, subscribe. Again, comment whether you like it or not. If you have a subject that you would like to see on our show or for us to discuss, feel free to chime in. And again, thank you all. Thank you for all the men and women that sacrifice their time with their families to protect us, to help us, to make sure that we get safe and get to where we're going. Thank you all, guys.
Good night, Rodri. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you, Rodri.
And if anybody out there, please join Rodri in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah, poor Rod. Well, Mr. Funk did for a little bit, and then I think he must have fallen asleep.
He did.
There he is.
Been listening.
He's working on it.
Nice.
So, just real quick. So, what he's talking about is Bush. So, he's backing out. He's got he's working on an Impala. You guys, what is not superficial? What's the show, Justin? Has like a black Impala.
Okay.
It's kind of a big thing in the show. Supernatural, I think it's called. Supernatural, I think it's what it's called.
Oh yeah. Supernatural.
So he's working on one that a guy's bought. Anyway, so he's backing it out of his drive. Supernatural. So he's backing out of his driveway, and his bushes have grown into the thing.
Oh no!
And he just got it. He just 67 Impala. He just got it painted.
Oh God!
So he's like, "Can you help me? And can you hold this bush back?"
Oh,
because
God.
if you carved it up, it would be like all bald at the bottom.
Yes.
So
geez.
basically, what I did, I'd come out there and hold this bush back so he could back the Impala out.
Oh my!
Because it just had a brand new black
that's horrible.
paint job done on it. So he's like, "Yeah, just hold it back so it doesn't." Can
you imagine that phone call? Cuz, can you come over here and hold my bush back, please, just for like a couple seconds? Sure.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. But yeah.
Oh my.
So that's.
Where's the sound effects?
Nice and shiny. Yeah. So he backed it up. So that's what that held. He's like, he texted me. He's like, you think you can help me for it? And I was like, possibly. What do you need? Because I was like, if he's like, hey, I need you to come in here and move like 5,000 pounds of furniture, I'd be like, man, I'm busy.
Yeah. Sorry. Remember that elbow test thing? Yeah, sorry.
So anyway, that's all I got.
All right.
Just real quick, in case we forgot, or in case our audience of three forgot.
Of two.
So next week,
Ooh,
a week from today, we will be laying out on the beach. Hopefully not
naked.
Hopefully not with a harpoon stuck in us.
Butt naked, so we can get a nice even tan.
Yes.
Oh.
And then. Then I don't know. I guess you'll post something, but we will be back the following weekend on a Saturday. But I don't foresee just doing a show that Sunday.
Why? What's the Sunday?
Well, that'll be the day
not-
after we
No.
come back.
Yeah,
It's the day. Yeah, everybody's
So
got
we'll
to
have to
decompress.
basically,
Right.
like 3 weeks from today is when our next.
Yeah, no, I think we push it off till the following.
Yeah.
Sunday.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Well.
So it'll be in July.
Because anyway, even if we did, because when Tex comes back, he gets seriously depressed.
No. Yeah.
It'll be like having Eeyore over here.
I can't wait till next year.
I can't wait to go back again. Gee, Mom, can I go back again?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so that's
all
all I
right,
got.
peeps. Have a good one. Have a great week. Be safe.
Bye, Roger and Mr. Funk. Happy Father's Day, Mr. Funk.
Can
Roger,
I
I know
come
you.
watch a live show.
Hell yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Just don't hit the bush when you pull in.
Or trim it up too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I like anyway. All right, moving on.
Here we go. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
See ya. Thank you. Thank you.